Okay, good afternoon, good morning, I don't know. It's actually the morning, but it doesn't matter because you might be watching at midnight. It's up to you. We're not going to get involved in your own personal lives, but this is the S.H.O.P, the social hub of positivity, in the S.H.O.P, in Emery Gate, in Chippenham, in Wiltshire, with these fantastic people. See, I normally say wonderful, but I've gone up a bit. I did wonderful, fantastic, but either way, wonderfully fantastic people, Claire Stringer and Ed Kerr. Two Eds, better than one. Thank you. These good people are connected to an organisation that I've only recently found out existed, and that's not anything to do with them, it's more to do with my stupidity. However, the organisation's called Olive Branch, is it not? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to let you describe who you are, how you're connected to it, and what it is. But just to say, we're very fortunate to have it in Chippenham. Have them. Over to you guys, Claire, Edward. Who would like Ed?
We've been here for a very long time. We've been here since 1989, which is nearly as long as I've been about. But very, very long time. Sorry, that was funny in my head.
It's still funny. Yeah.
We offer affordable counselling. So the idea is that we open counselling up to anybody, and anybody who's struggling in their lives in any way has the opportunity to come talk to us, to make improvements in their life, to just, for me, so I went through therapy. Perhaps I can very quickly move into why I got involved with Olive Branch.
Yeah. Can you explain what your role is then? Yeah, explain what your role is.
Of course, so I'm one of the trustees at Olive Branch.
So it's a charity, essentially, right?
It's a charity.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the trustees, along with Claire and two others. And some time ago, after my father had passed away, it threw up an awful lot of things that I'd tried to run away from in my life. And therapy gave me the opportunity to have an hour of time in a week where I could put the jigsaw together and hear myself talk, think through all of the things that had gone on, and look back on my childhood in a way that I hadn't really given myself time before. And it was revelatory. It opened my eyes to an awful lot of things that I thought were normal but weren't really normal, and it caused me an incredible amount of pain. And having come through that journey, been through that process, I just wanted everybody else to have it.
Yeah,
I just wanted everybody else to be able to just have that time and space to be able to just order their minds in some ways.
Yeah.
And at the same time as I'd finished doing that, the opportunity to start with Olive Branch came up, and I thought, goodness me, it's like this has been given to me.
Yeah.
And I absolutely jumped at the opportunity. But one of the big things with Olive Branch is that I was in a position that I could afford to pay for my own counselling.
Yeah.
And actually, I think most of the people who need counselling and benefit from counselling are not in a position to be able to pay for it.
Spot on.
So the idea that we have a charity that allows people to just sometimes make even the 1% changes in their life, but it's enough that it can turn them around, and that cost isn't an inhibiting factor.
Yeah.
That that it isn't again one of these divides where you look and you go, well, the rich people can sort themselves out with that. People who've got money can sort themselves out, and they're better for it, and they can go on.
Yeah.
But actually, you get caught in this downward spiral. How do you get out of it? Well, actually, we want to give people the opportunity to get out of that.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about.
Which is interesting, isn't it? Because one of the big factors in people's lives that maybe makes the whole thing overwhelming is the socio-economic situation. And the irony is that a way to support yourself or it would be to have counselling. But of course, bizarrely, I don't know why this is, what sort of society we live in, counselling, all the different therapies are usually marketed at your well-off middle classes and beyond. Not that I'm saying that every middle class, and no disrespect, I think everyone should be middle class. There should be no upper class, no lower class. Level it out. However, it is ironic that the very things that people might need come at a cost that most people who would need them cannot afford. So this is one of the aspects of why I'm such a big new fan of you and what you're doing is because it's like, my God, this is exactly it. As you know, it can do in the hub here with the situation. We're always coming across people that we are sometimes asking, well, if we weren't here, where would they be going? I don't get it. This is crazy. We give it for nothing. It's free. So how is that? Anyway, that's a deeper conversation, but I'm sure we can have it because we'll meet up again and have more conversations. Claire, over to you.
Well, I mean, we, just following on from what Ed's, been saying, we really sort of believe in helping people at the point that they need the help.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a couple of people who were reaching out to our services, and they were saying, I've taken the courage to make a phone call, and then I'm told at the end of the line that I've got to wait 6 months,
Oh, yeah.
On a waiting list. And then I may or may not have the help, and by that time, you've experienced all sorts of other comorbidities, or you've given up all hope by then. So we really believe in getting the help. That if somebody makes the call, we try and turn around that referral really, really quickly. So I did a referral with somebody yesterday. We've got them an appointment later on, next week to be able to sort of get the help.
That's amazing.
And it's sort of like a bespoke service as well, because if there's somebody really struggling, and I've set them up with a therapist at the end of next week, but they really needed an emergency appointment, we really want to be able to come alongside and help them, but then link with other services. So it's not just about having therapy with us, having the counselling. It's also about being able to link with other organisations to really help them in other aspects of their life.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is
that's
really important.
Absolutely. So to give people an idea, actually, there's a case for us getting some photographs of where you are. Photograph and maybe come in and film inside. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but just to give.
As long as there's no clients in.
Exactly. Well, the idea is if you're somebody that's listening to this now, and you've never had therapy, and you're listening to your story and you think, oh, okay, well, actually, I could probably do that, but you maybe not thought of it, because here's an aspect, because I understand about CAMS, which are a marvellous organisation, totally overwhelmed. There isn't enough help at the point of where people need it anywhere in our society, particularly, as I say, for those that would struggle anyway to pay for to keep a roof over their heads if they've got one. So that's an unfortunate state, and that's about maybe we need to recalibrate our society. But in the meantime, we've got good people like yourselves who are stepping in to fill an amazing gap in the needs of our community and society. But also, the idea that you can have therapy is something. What I'm trying to say is actually not everyone knows you can change. You've grown up with a set of behaviours and what have you. You don't know about cognitive behaviour. You don't know about. I'm one of these people, by the way, that I was educated by the mother of my boys, who worked with an amazing theatre company that worked inside the prison and probation service. So everything was psychologically based. They weren't just doing it for fun. They weren't entertaining. It was all about trying to get their client base, whether it's in probation or prisons, all around this country, Scotland, etc., and in America, to look at how they could intervene with their own thoughts and to change their own behaviours. To recognise that it's possible to change your behaviour or your thinking patterns is unfortunately something that isn't taught in school.
And to question your normality.
Yeah.
The one of the things I've talked with our counsellors about before is family scripts.
Yeah.
The way you grow up as a child is your normal.
Yes.
But it might be anything but.
100%.
But you don't know that.
Exactly.
And then you pass that on to your children.
Of course you do.
So who's going to break that generational cycle?
Yeah.
But you have to be able to recognise that.
Yeah.
Or at least open to recognising it and then being able to move forwards on it.
Exactly that. Well said. Because essentially what you've got is, this is why I've always done it, or this is how I've learned it from my parents, and this is an intergenerational thing. This just goes on and on. No, it's okay. Oh, right. It's a massive relief to go, No, it's okay. It's not accusatory. You're not banned for thinking or behaving that way, but here's a few ideas. And knowing firsthand, not strangely not from a direct counsellor, because one of our stalwarts at Can Do is a trained counsellor, art therapist, etc. But we never mention that. We probably do more therapy in a way than a lot of the organisations that do therapy, without ever mentioning the word therapy, because the same. It's my argument about religion sometimes. If I get into discussions with people about who go to church regularly but might not necessarily behave in that way, whatever church that is, whatever religious place, they might be very good, they might go there and they might pray, they might look great on Sunday, but Monday to Friday, Monday to Saturday, they're just not that sort of person. So I often ask the question, what would you rather, particularly if people ask me about why I'm not religious, what would you rather I did the work I do without professing any religion? And if you were to look at it, I've had religious friends who say, you're very, you seem to be quite religious. It's in that sense, because the nature of what you do. It's like, right, what would you prefer I did? Do it, or say I believe it?
I think that's one really lovely thing about all of our volunteers. We've got 100% volunteers at our charity.
It's
and
amazing.
We've got 100 therapists now.
Yeah.
And they all genuinely have that passion for caring for
amazing,
people.
by the way.
It's very different.
And
they're all volunteers. Sorry,
so
can I look at the camera? That's fantastic.
yeah.
That is just unbelievable.
And I think this is what we're trying to create in Chippenham and across Wiltshire, is like a support network for people that actually feels where people can just drop in and have a chat with us and feel comfortable and say, actually, not make it a really big thing like I've got this really big problem, that they're able to feel comfortable to say, actually, this is what's going on in my life, this is what's happening for me, and we're holding that individual in our little family olive branch unit. And so the passion really does come through from our therapists who actually do really genuinely care. They will put in emergency sessions for anyone that sort of refers in, so you feel that additional step that they take. And you remember when you were at junior school, you know when a teacher genuinely likes you and cares for you, and that's the difference between a good teacher who will just teach the subject or one that genuinely really does care about you.
Yeah, I think that's really important in our work. We talk about it's relationship based.
Yeah.
Not that we're friends to everyone, or that it's not that, but it's that you can tell, especially with the young people we work with, if someone is feeling you, getting you, knowing, understanding that you're
making the effort,
and hearing you,
and not therapising you.
100%.
So that
which is great coming
you
from
feel,
a therapist.
but not therapising
It's really
you,
important.
and so that you feel that you are an object being done to.
Yeah,
and
gone
that's
through
what
the A to Z of this, and now you follow this process.
Yeah,
It's not. It can't work like that. It can't work effectively like that. I believe it has to be done based on the real observation and the relationship between the two people, or more, depending if you do group. Do you do group work or not?
we're just about to start doing group work
It's
in September.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we're just about to start doing some group work, and that's where we feel that some people might be struggling at the thought of coming in and having therapy, but if they've already established relationships within a friendly group and built attachments, then they might think that's enough, or they might think, do you know what, I'm ready to take another little step, so that we can just help resource an individual with whatever it is that they're facing. That's what we're aiming to do, is just to help resource people in a way that can help them make decisions or have greater clarity, like Ed was saying about the intergenerational trauma, that they can say, well, this is my stuff, and actually this is Ed's stuff, and being able to sort of separate that out, but not in a way that has been really formal, that they've learned to, even just having chatter in the group, you can...
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's worth pointing out as well, in that respect, that I think people are very quick to minimise their own trauma, or pass it off and say, but mine isn't as bad as theirs.
Yeah.
But actually it's still affecting your life. And it doesn't matter if somebody else has it worse.
You can't
it's still a problem for you.
pain,
No,
can you?
absolutely,
Exactly,
absolutely.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think it's important that people, even with something that might feel very small to them, I look at it and I look at people as the worried well. That actually there are things that you're starting on that spiral, and yes, you haven't got very far, but actually let's stop you while you're at the top before you've got
100%.
right down at the bottom.
100%.
Or at least help you with the tools
Yeah.
that if you are going to merge further,
Yeah.
it supports you
Yeah.
to come out. And so I think a lot of people, perhaps, from what you're saying, is people look at therapy or look at this sort of help as, I have to have had major trauma in my life in order to be able to need this. But actually you don't.
No.
And actually
No.
you might have had major trauma, going back to what I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
that you didn't recognise as major trauma because it was normality in your life
Yes.
up until that point.
Yeah.
And so actually something very small can have, and if you're open to the idea that something very small that you can help with that can have enormous ramifications for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it then begs the question, and it doesn't beg the question of head teachers or teachers, because I get it. They're overwhelmed, too many pupils per class, not enough funding, not enough support for schools in general. But you kind of think as a sort of an enlightened society, from the second a child goes into a social environment where society has some and kind of a massive effect on a child's development, that there is that knowledge. It's not kind of maybe we should have a counsellor, or it's like no. I don't. Just so it's a naturally understood part of our general education, that the idea about being able to talk about issues, and for there to be an understanding from professionals and people around to hold and look at those, or have at least the facility within the school to enable that to happen. Now, Donna Lee, who's been with us, when we were a charity, she was. I'm putting up there. I'm looking to see if there's a photograph. There probably is somewhere. I don't know why I want to point the photograph. She's on that table over there. However, point being, is she, as I said, she was the school counsellor at what was then John Bentley, as well as being a trustee, and I'd never met her. We'd set up the charity, and they obviously met her to do that, but I didn't know their work, so I went across to do some work within the school, which is not John Bentley anymore, over in Caen, and was absolutely amazed at how good their inclusion programme was, how much the school head, deputy head, etc., cared about keeping the children within that community, in their community school, and having this inclusion programme that Donna Lee and a few other fantastic members of staff helped to create. It was so good that we'd get called into other schools and say, phone John Bentley and ask to speak to Donna Lee and help yourselves by cutting out the middleman, getting there quicker, seeing what they've got in place there, because it's fantastic, and it had outreach into the community. So it wasn't just because we'll try and contain these problems or these issues within the school because it makes sense, because the kids then don't either attend more or don't disturb other classes, or no, it was a naturally genuine responsibility that the school had undertaken to work with both within the school and within the community as a massive resource, and it was like fantastic. Unfortunately, with schools, and it's back to being a really good school again, but with schools, they're usually dependent on how good the management is, how good the head teacher is, etc., and I understand that, but not to have in all the schools. You can imagine, for instance, if you had your relationship with all the schools, if you're in Chippenham, with all the schools that knew that you were there and that they could somehow access you, or you could do satellite work within schools, if they haven't got the facility, it would, and you said it earlier on about the start of the spiral, nip stuff in the bud, get people into the understanding that, okay, because not wishing to make it sort of, a bizarre analogy, but in most cases, unless you're a plumber, something happens with your pipes in your house, you phone an expert and you say, look, I don't know what it is, there's something right. We haven't really got there yet with understanding that maybe there's something amiss with our mental health. Not massively, just could be anything, but whatever it is that we can naturally call out and go, right, oh no, I'm going to go, in this case, to Olive Branch. This is why we really want to advertise as much for you, so that people can realise it's like, right, because as you know, you either get, it's going to take 6 months if you're going to get it at all, or it's private and it's going to cost so much, you'll be in more stress, you'll have worse mental health just by paying for your therapy.
But I love you talking about the schools there. I think, from a personal point of view, I was 36 when I went to therapy, and I basically wasted about 20 years of my life. If I'd have, when I was sort of 14 to 16, had the opportunity to talk to somebody at that point in my life, I think my life would have been incredibly different. I've done a lot of things very, very differently. And so the idea that as, young adults, we can step out of what we think is normality and have a guiding light that can help you see what's going on around you, that actually, because often it's very easy to put these things onto other people, but actually they're dealing with all of their own problems that they haven't resolved since they've been children. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me. I think it's Robin Williams that says, isn't it, that just always be kind to people. You don't know what's behind their eyes.
Yes.
So just be kind to them. We were talking about this morning. We go into meetings and sometimes you meet somebody and they react in a way that you don't expect, or is just against the way that the meeting is run to that point. And you've just got to remember that actually they could be single parents, or they could be at home.
Really valid.
So many different things going on, but it has this knock-on effect. And actually, sometimes, and this is again where I love Olive Branch, is you get to get your head above the parapet and you get to just see the lay of the land as it is. And then when you go back down into it, you are much better prepared for what's going on. And you start reacting in different ways. And you start changing how the people around you react to you, and just these tiny shifts in the interactions that you have with people that make everybody's life better, and it has that knock-on effect.
And if you've got a few resources, like when you didn't have those resources, it was a real challenge. Now you have those resources. If you face a challenging situation in the future, you'll be able to apply some of those resources, and some will work and some may not for this particular situation. But that's where we would like to really help people, is to help resource them so that in the future they may not come back into having counselling, or they still might want to be part of our team, but they essentially have a little toolkit or some resourcing that they can apply in a given situation, and be able to say, I tried this in this situation and it worked well. Can I use this approach in this situation? And it might be that they can, and it might be that that maybe they can't and they have to apply a different resource. But essentially it's about helping to resource an individual so that that they can apply that in real life.
Now you talked about, that's amazing, so we talked about the different areas or geographical or whatever that people might come across you, because we are thinking about, are we not, running a group in this very social hub.
So term time only on a Friday that our therapists will come down and work with individuals that maybe want to just come and express themselves creatively.
Using the art and everything else, and I will be in the background singing songs, singing songs that go, phew, glad I'm not him, and it makes them feel better about life. You see, that's really exciting. Who was that lovely girl from Sunderland?
Yes, our lovely Kelly.
It's Kelly, wasn't it? Yes. So that's great. I mean, this has amazed me, because like you're saying, I wish I'd known it, whatever. I said, I wish I'd known you. We've only been here 26 years. Wish we'd have known that earlier on, because we do so many, we work intergenerationally. We work with so many different people that yourselves, that sometimes you feel you're in a trench fighting everyone, fighting the world on behalf of your client base, and actually, working together to form some sort of safety net is really vital, because it just means we've all got a bigger capacity to help.
And I think if people can trust as well, that's really important, that if people can trust and know that if we're dealing with you know, an individual in a family, like a, you know, a mother, then she might be likely to say to another family member, hey, you know, I tried this and it worked. And then we want to be able to deal with a whole family unit.
Yes, of course.
So that we don't have to say, well, actually, we've got this family member here, but we've got to, you know, we've got to sort of signpost somebody somewhere else to sit on a waiting list for a year or 6 months.
That's perfect.
So that's what, you know, we'd like to be able to sort of create.
And we've done similar in that we try, where possible, to be supportive to the whole family unit, to the extent where we've done residentials where we've taken the children and the parent with us, so that the parent also gets some sort of break, but also can look at a different way of interacting with children. So it's kind of like observe, not watch us, we're really good at this. It's just a natural thing of looking at a different way of organising a day and how you interact with respect with children and vice versa, and to develop a more positive relationship. So we took a group to America, to Native American, what do you call those things they live on, unfortunately, reservations. And we brought, because we work with a lot of kids in care, a foster parent as well as the foster child, to foster a better understanding. We also brought a social worker, so that social workers could see the value of, when you're working with children in care, to treat them like your own kids, in all the positive aspects of that. So, you know, often was the case that they'd do sort of respite care for the child in care, would be sent away while the biological family went on holiday, which is understandable, but also it really compounds the fact that this person isn't part of that family. And I get it, that if they're not adopted, they're maybe not, etc., etc. However, we try to set up a models in Wiltshire particularly, that you could go, right, okay, ensure that this happens each year, that these young people, not just stigmatising all just kids in care, because we had an integrated group, go on these residentials. They're all life skills residentials, but to them, I'm sure they just felt like holidays. But they absolutely love them, because, you know, not only do they get to decide what healthy food they're going to, they'll make it. It's part with adults. They'll do all that bit of it. Then there isn't this sort of, and they'll debate and negotiate everything and establish the rules, which they then police themselves, because they've helped establish them. And it's all those little bits that go up to changing how someone, and it's, you know, it's had a phenomenal success, but it should be a part of the rationale with social services. Like, okay, organisations that work with children in care, that are prepared to take them on residentials during the holidays, potentially when the biological family go away, this would be a built-in type of respite that didn't feel like respite, because you're already working with that individual and they want to come on these residential stroke holidays. So all those bits, there's just levels and levels, isn't there, that you need to be able to, you've got the individual, then the individual in their own, because the reason I was saying that is because then you'd send them back, if some of their children who weren't in care would go back to family situations, they'd had respite from themselves, but they were going back into all these negative or poor habits that were happening within and you know, that's why summer holidays and the holiday programs are really important to us, because actually children can make backward steps within the 6 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it is of the summer holidays, when you've done all this work in term time with them. So there's just loads of areas that need, and this is why, again, talking about working together to try and establish more without having to keep reinventing wheels. It's like, oh no, well, you come here because this is already set up, and it's easy then, isn't it?
I think that's important, and something that we spoke about when we last met, that some of your youth, when they turn 18, all the services turn their backs on them and say, you're 18 and off you go, find your own housing, that's it, you're no longer our responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really great that having a good relationship, it's almost like you know that you've got Olive Branch that can help support those individuals that when they're not with CAMS in school or with another, well, they probably haven't got any support, but if they're fortunate to have had some sort of service in school, then they're not just abandoned and feeling vulnerable, that there is somewhere where a trusted charity like ours can help and
which is it
them.
And often the case that you're so busy doing the voodoo that you do so well that marketing it isn't necessary because you're full to the brim anyway, but actually there's something to be said about like, right, okay, I want to get everyone to know that these models of structures exist. How can we support this? How can we build on to this to make a even bigger offer to the people that need it? Because there's always going to be more people, which again goes back to kind of the structure of our society. And what I know people say, it's a bigger question. And so, well, if you don't ask the questions, if you don't make those from your own professional observations, this thing keeps reoccurring, maybe we need to do something about this thing. And I'm not going to necessarily name what this thing is at the moment, because there's lots of these things that go to almost they're trapdoors that people fall through all the time, and you're kind of thinking like, well, they need to make people aware of the trapdoors or mend the trapdoors so they're not trapdoors anymore as a society. Think of potholes, everyone. Think of potholes, but emotional potholes, John.
Yeah, no, I like that analogy. But obviously, you stood yourself, and I love that. I love that you want to make a difference. But I think when you get to a certain level, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And there's too much to change to make the world a better place, and certainly to make this country a better place. And so, the way I looked at it is you've got to play what's in front of you.
100%.
And actually, there are people struggling. Let's help them. Absolutely, society needs to change.
Yeah.
But I cannot do that overnight. But I can help somebody overnight.
100%.
And that
direct
that's
response.
A big job,
Well, then it's perfect, because if everyone did that, so even knowing there's people like yourselves that are prepared to do that, well, there'll be people out here thinking, oh, actually, I'd quite like to get involved in something like that. Where in my locality, because it's not just Chippenham people that watch this, where in my locality are there something similar? Or if there isn't, hey, wait a minute, guys, maybe we should set up something like this. And that's really important. Of course, you've got the, think globally, act locally. If I would never have ever wished to get involved in politics. That's how, but fortunately, bizarrely, that was one of the main reasons that was a great thing, is you got called out to me. It's like, right, I'm going to run for every bit of politics then, because simultaneously, the Home Office, I've been down there before to advise them, because they know, you work in all these different areas. Can you tell us what you think the best way to look at the issue of community cohesion is? And stuff. Oh yeah, I will give her that freely, because I understand that they work in offices and they're bureaucrats, and no disrespect to them. Someone's got to do it. They're doing it. Great. I'll advise you. That's for free. Have this information. Department of Culture. Yeah, I'll do this because I know that you're not doing it, and it's much better that you're asking at least, as opposed to we're writing out all these white papers. It's like, based on what though? What are you basing all your knowledge on? Well, we just thought this. I don't think this is what it smells like on the street, and this is how it needs to be interpreted, and it's great. So when they're asking, I'm willing to give it. I've recently wanted to get involved. Actually, it's not true. I didn't never want to get involved in politics, because it's corrupt from. I was going to say arse to elbow, but that's rude. So I'll say something else. Apple to pear. It's corrupt. It doesn't work. If it does. If it did, we wouldn't have all the problems we have, because they're really easily identifiable. Most of them are money-based. If you were to take I don't know if you read what I was talking about. Child poverty was my main thing when I was running to be elected, because we'll all agree that actually socio-economic pressure on a household and child leads to potentially all these other aspects, right? And it can be from mental health to antisocial behaviour, right? So loads of problems are caused by the lack of at a very young age. So if there's now 4 point whatever children in poverty, for me, that's a really, not easy, but a fixable thing, isn't it? And it's worthwhile, because we realise that these children go on and have even more costs, if we were going to put it in those terms, to our society. So straight away, the very first thing that happens with this landslide Labour government is they exclude, is it 6 or 7 MPs for voting to ban, to eradicate the 2-child cap. Do you know what I'm talking about, the 2-child cap? Anyone, Maya, can you put into this what the two-child cap is? Because that's really fixable. That's 700,000 children straight away that you could go, okay, well, if we put more money in that and taxed the rich more, because that's a good thing to do, this would be something that you could simultaneously do. Meanwhile, you're still having to deal with the unending trickle or line of people that are going to come to you, because that's always going to be the case, right, forever. So I'm not suggesting for 1 second, hey guys, listen, I think maybe you should stop doing what you're doing and let's form a political party. No. At the same time, using the knowledge that you have, this, for instance, not that you're wishing to talk about the government, I am. Because I realise that it's like, okay, everyone, hey, wait a minute, I'm turning around in those trenches and realising that generals are playing golf and croquet and have no idea of what's going on in the front line. So either I tried it, I'll go, yeah, I'll come to the Home Office. Shouldn't really have to come to the Home Office, by the way. And to be fair, the Department of Culture, they came up to Wiltshire. They observed loads of stuff we did. But they met me at a conference we did for homeless people, a national thing that we did in Nottingham, Swansea, Bristol, etc., etc. We had this national thing in the Tri-School Theatre, invited the Department of Culture, said this is a way of looking at and helping and supporting people who have reached this situation with it. They were amazed. Right, can you come and advise government on that? Yeah, I can, but I'm going to talk like this. Yeah, even better. So that was only made possible by our wonderful Mel C. You know, you're Mel C. I'm deluded. It was ridiculous. We couldn't get any funding locally 25 years ago to help homeless people. It just wasn't a thing. What? Yeah, we want to do this with homeless people. You ain't going to get any money from us. Okay. Mel C released a single and enabled us to, we couldn't get from the Arts Council either. So we did this national project. We showed, and we blessed the Department of Culture. They came, the civil servants came and went, wow, this is amazing. Can you tell us and everyone else how this works and all this sort of good stuff? Then I got invited to the Home Office and all sorts of stuff, looking at community cohesion. And you're going, right, yeah, this is good. But I'm still in my head thinking, this only happened because of a Spice Girl. This is crazy. What sort of society have we got that it takes the kindness of a Spice Girl to enable homeless people to have an opportunity, to enable the Department of Culture to understand that this is the sort of work that needs to happen? It's like, this is totally preposterous. So that's why I want to affect at decision level. So we worked on the Every Child Matters. We worked on loads of stuff. It's like, oh no, this is important. But not everyone should or could be doing that, because then you wouldn't be helping the very people that are turning up at your door who need your help. That's why we need the laws and the structure to change, so that we can prevention better than cure. If we had this type of interaction from as soon as the child leaves the family home. Sure Start was a great thing that the Labour Party put in. Carry on, Ed.
No, I was going to say, I the overpowering part of all of that is, and something that I've always felt for a good long time, is that there just isn't enough goodness in the world. Fostering good spirits in people,
yeah,
to do something good for somebody. And I think again, that's one of the reasons I love Olive Branch.
Yeah.
We get to show some goodness to people that hopefully they take away with them and they show to other people.
Yes.
And it has this ripple effect.
Yes.
That we just let people be heard, and we help them in even one moment do something differently that they might not have done previously, that has some goodness, that passes that on. You know, even if it's they let somebody out at a junction in the car.
Yes,
something
I
small as that.
totally agree.
And that can change somebody else's day.
Ed, I 100% waving, being grateful. I had this conversation the other day with and we're going up to a funeral, and I said to my brother, you know, don't be offended if I wave to people who let us through and stuff. And so what do you mean? I said, one time this driver got really annoyed with me. He said, I can wave, thank you. And I said, well, 1 second. They're letting me out as well, you know. I'm in this car. It's not just you and the driver. I'm saying thank you personally because I'm personally grateful. And I'm also want to make sure that the person in that car doesn't go, oh, yeah, I was letting them out. I will always be...
Which can change the whole course of their day.
Totally. 100%, and it's so ridiculous that we're talking about little things like that built up across the whole of the day, talking to people on cash registers, etc., etc., having a conversation.
And that's what I think, like, you know, I forget who said it, but it costs you nothing to be kind.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wonder if those politicians, are people kind to them? Like, how do you get that goodness to that point that when they come to thinking about these things, they're thinking about it in a what's the word? You know, they're not thinking about it objectively. They're actually bringing their heart to what's going on as well.
Yeah.
And trying to approach things in a way that they go, actually, I care and I want to make a difference.
Yes.
Which, you know, one of the questions I was going to ask you, and I know you, from the way you've talked about politics, what drives me is to go, perhaps, you know, delusionally, why can't you be the one that changes it for the better?
Yeah.
And fine, you might have to fight it, you know, immeasurably. But why can't you be the one that changes it for the better?
Yeah, someone has to.
No, indeed.
And
why can't that be you?
So exactly. So each person can either be a Gandhi, a Martin Luther King. Fill in the gaps yourself. Who you think has been and many women involved in this as well. I'm just mentioning two men, but of course. I was trying to think, Claire, for instance. There are equally great women. The point of the matter is that you look at what was before and what came after them, these individuals, and you go, right. Now, it's not about grandiosity and thinking, it's like, no. If all of us acknowledge that we're equally valuable, that there's a level of respect, there isn't a hierarchy. It's absurd that this country is still stuck in that, you know, the royals are getting yet another pay rise. It's like, are you crazy, you people? You know, these arguments. Oh, they do great for tourism. In what way? Do they guide people around the palaces? They do nothing. You never see them. You don't see the royals. The buildings will always be there. The Palace of Versailles has got millions of people that go and see it. There is no royal there with a head or without a head. They're not there. Disneyland, it's got Mickey Mouse. Loads of people go there. It's a myth. We do. It's a really to set up a society. So government, the Parliament needs to be totally recalibrated. The Lords need to be abolished. We need an elected chamber. We definitely don't need royal people. We don't. It's not good for them. It's not good for our thing. Now, whether you agree with that or not, it's like this is not a good aspiration for our country. It's not good for a meritocracy. It doesn't help. We get born into this immense situation where you have everything, and then there are countless, way too many families that have nothing.
I read the other day, though, that actually the standard of living in countries that have monarchies is higher.
I don't.
Just to throw in.
I can't.
Against that.
I obviously I haven't read the information thing, but there's absolutely, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, no sense in having a situation where you can only obtain it because at the same time, Thatcher was a massive advocate of meritocracy, but unfortunately the royals and etc. corrupt that whole. God, we've got into a different thing. This is all to do with mental health, though.
We'll go down a rabbit hole that we probably don't have time for. But
make this 2 episodes. What?
Part of me.
Yeah.
I was chatting to a friend of ours about this the other day, and part of me thinks we're at something of an inflection point in the history of this country.
Yeah, I think it's...
That actually we kind of peaked in 2012 with the London Olympics, and in the last 10, 12 years we've been just trying to figure out who we are and how we present ourselves to the world, but who we are here at home as well. And I think there's a very strong case for making major changes, of which one would be getting rid of monarchy.
Yeah, but in a kind way. I don't want to hurt them. I just want them to say, look, guys, that doesn't work anymore. Well done. There's a council estate over there in Bromham. You can go in there. Here's your retirement pension. It doesn't involve jewels. Yeah.
We're changing the face of the country.
Yeah.
Giving the...
Changing Parliament. Move it to Coventry. I'm being serious.
Why specifically Coventry?
Coventry is technically the centre of the country.
Okay.
So that old, outdated place, the Palace of Westminster, it's like, great. They keep it open as a museum and charge people $1.50 to see them. Don't you know, you don't know what you got till it's gone. I do. Get rid of that. Have Parliament in Coventry, have it in the centre of the thing where everyone comes, no second homes, have it built so it's all got the apartments of all the and offices of the politicians in it. It's a nice big round building which is really open, and people can come and they can talk, and you can talk and you can meet your MP. I'll guarantee if it's in Coventry, there won't be many MPs with second homes. You're all right. We'll just stay in the all the residents that are attached to the building, because it needs to be really efficient and it needs to be representative. But party politics doesn't work. They all vote regardless. The whole thing with Labour now, it's like, no, don't be ridiculous. Everyone should be an individual representing their constituencies, and bringing it back to what we're talking about, because this is it, isn't it? It's like, if a politician couldn't send their kids to private schools and had to send them to the local school, and they couldn't use private dental care or doctors, etc., they would have, because their enlightened vested self-interest would ensure that the school that their children were going to was as good as it possibly could be. And I'll guarantee you that for that to happen, there would need to be a counselling service within it. Because the beauty about comprehensive education is all these different children come from these different backgrounds, and we've all got these different paradigms of how you raise a kid, mainly based on how you were raised. But the idea that we have a socially accepted, values-based society on good values that are free and open to everyone, because you have the education is delivered by mindful, psychologically trained, not just geography, maths, things like no. Psychologically, your relationship, you said it earlier on, your relationship with that child can change their whole course of their... They will not like maths if you are not a nice person. Forget about being a good teacher. If you're not a nice person, that child won't like maths. How do I know that? Ask me my 10 times table. Isn't it true? But if it's relationship based, so therefore, if we do not finance our society, if we do not prioritise education, early start, you name it, so that we can ensure that all children eat, have a good home, you can't obviously ensure that the relationship with their parents until a few generations have gone through a cycle of being in educational situations where they can talk openly and freely about how they feel, and that to be as valued about how much they know about algebra. Vote me again. Vote me now. Let's have a recount.
I think we talked about obviously socio-economic problems that people have and how that can push them towards more likely to need counselling.
Not the only thing, of course.
But I think, well, no, indeed. But I think a large part of what we touched on earlier was the economic side of things. But I think the social aspects start with school. That the idea that there's that wonderful cartoon where there's somebody sat behind a desk and he's got this whole array of animals in front of him: elephant, a goldfish in a bowl, a monkey, just loads of different animals. And he says, right, today we're going to judge you based on how well you can climb that tree. Of course, the goldfish can't climb the tree.
Yeah.
But children are like that in school. So we're trying to put our children into a Victorian education, and they don't fit.
Yeah.
And they're probably more than we accept don't fit.
Yeah.
And then we vilify them for not fitting.
Yeah.
And you leave that child with all of these, well, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And we push them aside and we make them feel pushed out, that they don't fit into society, that they spend all of their time trying to fit into something.
It's a one-size-fits-all
want them.
school scenario, not because of head teachers, not because of teachers. It's they are looking at the confines of what they're trying to say to fulfill and go, oh, well, we have to dispense with all this other thing. Creativity, I would suggest, all the arts would be one of the key, because it's based on emotional responses as well, would be the key subjects that every child should be taught, so they become creative problem solvers.
Which you need in the workplace.
We need everywhere. You need in your life.
Absolutely.
You need to be able to look at, to get out that door in the morning, if you've got a door, to get the door, to get the roof, to get the job, you need to have all of these aspects of your life at a functional level. And this all unfortunately brings us back to your good selves and why you're needed and why we need and why we're needed in lots of ways, and why other organisations should be, maybe this might be the start of something. We need to get all the organisations that we believe are doing similar or related projects, etc., or have a certain rationale, and just kind of come together and go, right, is there any way, with the limited resources we've all got, that we can, the greater sum of all its parts can be a bigger offer, that we can, like, instead of reinventing the wheels, that we can all look at each other and go, right, actually this makes sense. And you've said it already, you've always said that you signpost to people, we do the same things, but actually it would be, for me, maybe it needs to be not more formal or more bureaucratic, but at least where we're all kind of, like, as I say, no fault of yours, but I never heard of you. I've heard of Olive and I've heard of Branch, but never those two together and put in such a sweet way. So maybe as an outcome of this type of relationship, we start the Friday, what are you going to call that thing? And it's, we'll find out, because it's not going to be open to the public, is it?
What, the...
When you're here, when Kelly's here on a Friday.
Oh, I see. In terms of people coming in,
Yeah.
No, it would.
You'll have a set group.
Right.
Yeah. So you'll have a set group, and we do this with all our different groups. We've got a poetry group, we've got a singing group. They all come in, they do their thing, and rightly so. It would be good to have information from your organisation down here for Lauren and the rest of the volunteers to be able to give out, because there are a lot of people that come here that need that support. And I'm really grateful to Acorn, who run this place, to sort of like keep us here. It's like, yeah, this is really valuable. This is so valuable if you're in the business of helping people. It's, you know what I mean?
I also think that in terms of where we would like to head to is, yes, having a service that we can be all joined up with the people, that are local to here, but also people who have got a business background or run an organisation in Chippenham, or who genuinely have a heart for helping, so that they feel that this is something that they want to become involved in.
Yes.
So that it could be an accountant, or it could be
100%,
an estate agent that's saying, do you know what?
We can facilitate you, support
I'd like
you
to
this
be
way,
able to support, or if there's somebody out there who feels, I don't know what I can offer, I don't know, but I'd like to be able to help in some way others, then just having that dialogue and being part of what we do, their skill set will be able to be used in some way. Absolutely. And they might not know it now, but they might be very much the missing link or piece that really makes things function in it. So we'll start this little call out to people about, we need to formalise something about how this works and reach out to other organisations and see what their feedback is, because there's wonderful organisations in Chippenham, in Wiltshire, that are doing great work. But again, sometimes you operate
in a vacuum, don't you? And if you work at Dyson's, you certainly do. There's no need for that. Was there any need for that? Thank you, James.
I think you'll find he'd be quite upset with vacuum.
No, it's Hoover. It's Hoover. If you
Yeah,
say
exactly.
Hoover.
Yeah, he doesn't like it.
No, vacuum is what it does.
Yeah.
You have to call it a vacuum cleaner. Hoover is a brand. Okay, James? Nice. Anyway, we should think about this and how we might reach out and sort of get a momentum growing, because it could indeed be a way of filling loads of gaps and supporting each other to support everyone.
I think we should revolutionise mental health
Yeah,
across. I mean, this is where we are, Wiltshire,
yeah,
and I think to be part of an initiative that is out there, revolutionising the mental health.
yeah. It's the bedrock of our society.
Yeah.
And I know you guys know it, because you're doing so. Oh, okay, I know it, and I'm doing something about it. It's like brilliant. We need to make it so accessible and obvious to everyone that it changes the perspective of decision makers as well. And go, oh right, this is really important, and oh now I get it. I see how investing here stops us having to, I call it positive spend and negative spend. If you put your positive spend in at the foundation, you don't have to spend so much in negative spend when the individual becomes dysfunctional at a later age and starts lashing out and battering themselves or people, because we deal with as many people that self-harm as we do with people that harm others. And you go, well, you still have to spend time and obviously need to spend time with each of those individuals because they're in need.
I always think of it, if you graze yourself and then over time it starts getting septic,
Yeah,
you do something about it.
yeah,
You can see you've hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You can see that it's getting worse.
yeah,
You can't see the graze that you have on your mental health when
That's
you're
it.
on the
Yeah.
inside, but it can go septic and it
it
gets
is
worse.
festering,
And
100%.
you let that slowly eat away from the inside, and you'll end up in a position doing things that you never thought you'd do, or living a life that you never thought you'd live.
Yeah,
And actually, sometimes all you need is a plaster.
yeah,
But come and get the plaster
yes, yes.
before you need to have your arm amputated.
There you go. It's the first aid scenario as well, isn't it? Do you know notice how the Edwards are doing lots of analogies? Oh, we're full of them. Right. Anything else you guys want to say? Because we can do as many of these podcasts over the year as possible.
I would like to keep doing them. I mean, I really want to reach out and get as many people.
There's a politics one on the cards, isn't there?
Well, they're all connected.
Yeah.
Right? And people say, oh, I don't do politics. Well, politics will definitely do you, because everything that if you breathe in, there's politics involved. Clean air, pollution.
We just want to we want to revolutionise mental health, and we want people to feel passionate about it and know that as a community, people are being held, that there is no, well, where do you go and what do you do? That we've just got it all knitted up across the whole board, from your services to all the other services that are great in the area, that it's just a given that...
Have you got promotional... Sorry to cut across you, just suddenly came into my head about how would we do that. Listening to it and then trying to straight away work out how we could... Have you got on your website, is there a promotional video of what you do and how you do it?
Not really, is there? Not
a video. So we're in a position where certainly Claire and I came on board in July 22, somewhere around there, and the charity has changed a lot in that time. It's all part of this longer journey that we've been building up, how people refer, how we can see them as soon as we can, how we bring counsellors in, how that's all managed within the organisation. Part of our next step is how do we get people to know about us? Right. But more than that, how do we get people to know that mental health is something that they should care about, to know about us, to come and visit us. So things like that.
But so if we came along and made a promotional video with all that content in it, from maybe some ex-clients that have benefited from it, if they're up for talking about it, that's whether it may or may not, doesn't matter. you can put it out there. You'll know them and say, look, we're going to make this promotional stroke documentary thing, because the great thing about videos is you can all but smell what's going on.
Yeah.
You can hear the intonation in people. When you read, and if you can, I'm terrible, it's like, I hate writing stuff really in lots of ways. That you get to say, people, all your volunteers, if they want to be involved, but also have parts of it to call out to people how you would like, if they would like to get involved.
And even just talking to some people that signpost people to us.
Yeah.
So I work a lot with a mental health nurse in Chippenham and one in Trowbridge in particular, and it would be good to speak with her, because just knowing that when she's got her patients in that are really desperate, and knowing hand on heart that when she picks up the phone to me or the referral comes through, she says, I've just spoken with this patient that's just come in and they really, really want help, and knowing that I've been able to sort of set them up, and we as an organisation have been able to set them up. I'm saying I because I do the referrals, but as an organisation we've been able to support these individuals immediately, so she can then talk about the impact that actually has, that when somebody goes to their doctors they don't lose hope, that they're saying, well, when I go to my doctor's surgery, actually I've got help straight away, because otherwise people just give up.
Okay, so a couple of things have come out of this already. We better stop talking, because otherwise they'll never get edited. Well, the world might run out of electricity before we finish. Anything else before we go? Because we can do this as many times as it needs, because I'm totally behind you in the idea, and with you, alongside you in the idea we need to revolutionise, non-violent revolution about how mental health is perceived and acted upon and supported, etc., etc. So, thank you both so much. This is wonderful, Claire and Ed. Thank you for watching, listening, and just bearing with us, and look for more interactions with these good people. But until that time, Olive Branch, everyone, check them out on the website or whatever at the moment, but get in contact and keep your eye out for more stuff. That's a wrap. Thank you.
Spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, just another speck in the cosmic shadow.